Good morning, students. In today's class, we will go through the chapter that is chemical bond. In this chapter, what are the important concepts we have and in what way they will ask MCQs. Before going to that one, this is very important chapter in NEET in which we can expect really 4 to 5 questions in this chemical bond itself. So we have to concentrate highly on this one. According to that, we have to practice also. Okay, now going through this one, first starting with why these atoms are involved in chemical bonds. Why do atoms combine? By using energy. By using energy means any atom which is losing the energy, any substance with lower energy will be highly stable. According to that, when atoms are going to be combined to form a molecule, they are going to lose energy. In that way, they will get stability. Okay, to get the stability, atoms of different elements will be combined to form molecules. There is nothing but chemical bond will be formed. In that way, atoms will undergo chemical bonds to be formed as products. Next, by using electronic configuration also we can say, electronic configurations, those are inert gas configurations. Those are two inert gas duplet configuration and octet configuration. The ability of an atom, the tendency of the property of the atom which is contained by 2 electrons in the outermost shell is called, and it is stable, highly stable, is called duplet configuration, and the property of the atom containing 8 electrons in the outermost shell and the atom is highly stable, that is called octet configuration. Okay, the atoms which contain these configurations will be highly stable, and remaining atoms, those who are not contained by these configurations, they want to get these configurations by losing electrons, by gaining electrons, or by sharing electrons. In that way, different types of chemical bonds will be formed. And what are those different types of chemical bonds? In those different types of chemical bonds, first one is ionic bond. So let us start with directly ionic bond. First, what is meant by this bond? What is the definition of this ionic bond? Seeing the heading itself, we can understand the bond which is formed between the ions. The bond which is formed between the ions is called ionic bond. Then, in what way ions will be formed? Okay, how ions will be formed? Then, ionic bond, definitely there is a chance to be formed between two opposite ions. That means one is positive charge ion and another one is negative charge ion. Positive charge ion is called cation and negative charge ion is called anion. Between that, some attraction force will be developed. That attraction force is nothing but ionic bond. Okay, how that ions will be formed? By losing electron or by gaining electron. If you take sodium configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. With that configuration, sodium is not stable because outermost electron is only one electron is present. Then to get the nearest net gas configuration, that is neon, sodium wants to lose one electron. By losing one electron, sodium is formed as Na plus and plus one electron. Okay, and simply sodium will not lose electron because another atom which must be there to accept that electron. Definitely, other side, another atom must be there to accept that electron. Then only sodium is ready to lose the electron. In that condition, chlorine will gain this electron because chlorine atomic number is 17. Nearest inert gas, that is argon. To get the argon configuration, chlorine wants to gain one electron. Then that electron is gained by chlorine to be formed as Cl minus. Here what is happening? Sodium is losing electron and chlorine is gaining electron. In this way, Na plus cation is formed and Cl minus anion is formed. Now, there is an electrostatic force present between this Na plus and Cl minus to be formed as NaCl compound. This is the formation of ionic bond. Now, the definition of this ionic bond is the bond which is formed by the transfer of electrons, one or more electrons from one atom to another atom, and there is a chance to be there is a electrostatic force developed between those two ions. That electrostatic force is called ionic bond. Okay, simply we can define it as The bond which is formed between two atoms in which the one atom loses the electron, one or more electrons, and another atom will gain the electron. The atom which loses the electron will be converted as positive charge, that is cation, and the atom which is gaining the electron, it is converted to anion. Immediately after the development of this positive charge and negative charge ions, they will be developed with electrostatic force. The electrostatic force is called ionic bond. The bond formed by the transfer of one or more electrons from one atom to another atom is called ionic bond. In this way we can see the formation of ionic bond. This is simple thing only. Definition, how the ionic bond will be formed, this is simple thing only. But we have to remember what are the conditions for the formation of this ionic bond. The conditions for the formation of ionic bond can be explained by two ways. That is, conditions for the formation of cation as well as conditions for the formation of anion. Let us see them. Conditions for the formation of cation. First one, size of the atom. Now my question is, we have two atoms. Okay, for the formation of cation, what should be happened? That atom should lose the electron easily. Correct? If that atom loses the electron easily, then it will be converted to cation easily. Then if it is converted to cation easily, it will be forming as ionic bond easily. Then out of these two atoms, which atom will be converted to cation easily? Cation is nothing but it should lose electron. Here, outermost electron is nearer to the nucleus. Attraction will be strong. So that electron cannot be given out by that nucleus easily. So it cannot lose the electron. Next. Here, electron is far away from nucleus. Far away means distance is increased. When distance increases, attraction decreases. Then electron can be given out easily. So we can understand, out of these two atoms, big atom can donate the electron easily. That can be converted to, if this loses the electron easily, it can be converted to cation easily. Okay, ma? So when the size of the atom will be increased, automatically there is a chance of formation of cation easily. Big size atoms can be formed as cation easily. That is the thing we can understand from this one. This is first condition. Next, second condition. In previous class only we have seen what is the definition of ionization energy in periodic classification. Okay, ma? That is the minimum amount of energy required to remove the electron from outermost shell of neutral isolated gaseous atom is called ionization energy. Let us consider two atoms. Here this is nucleus and this is nucleus, and here we have electron and here we have electron. Out of these two, previously this one is example, no? Which one can lose the electron easily? Big size atom. This one requires less ionization energy. The atom which has less ionization energy can be formed as cation easily. This one requires high ionization energy. The small atom requires high ionization energy. Big atom requires less ionization energy. From this what we can understand, the atom with less ionization energy contains big atom, big size. It can be donating the electron easily and it can be converted to cation easily. Okay, ma? These are the conditions for the two conditions. Next, third one is there. That is, let us consider two atoms, sodium and zinc. Sodium, by losing one electron, it is converted as Na+, in which it will get inert gas configuration. Sodium, by losing one electron, it will be formed as Na+, which is getting inert gas configuration. Zinc, it will lose two electrons to be formed as Zn+2, but Zn+2 does not contain inert gas configuration. It is contained by pseudo inert gas configuration. It is contained by pseudo inert gas configuration. The atom which is able to form inert gas configuration after losing electron, it will be formed as cation easily. So out of sodium and zinc, which can be converted as cation easily? Sodium. Okay, the cation which has inert gas configuration, it can be formed easily when compared to the cation which has pseudo inert gas configuration. These are the three conditions for the formation of cation. Next, firstly we will go through anion conditions also. Favorable conditions for the formation of anion. Anion means it should gain the electron, means neutral atom should gain the electron and it should be converted to anion. Now let us consider two atoms now. Out of these two atoms, which atom can gain the electron easily? This one. If this electron enters into the shell, it is nearer to the nucleus now. It can be held by the nucleus more effectively. So this electron can enter into this orbit easily instead of this one. So out of these two, atom with smaller size can be formed as anion easily. Neutral atom with small size can be formed as anion easily because the small size atom can gain the electron easily and it can be converted to anion easily. That property is called electron affinity or electron gain enthalpy. In periodic classification we have seen the amount of energy released when one electron is added to neutral isolated gaseous atom is called electron affinity. The atom which has high electron affinity, it can be formed as anion easily. The atom which has high electron affinity can be converted to anion easily. There, the atom which has less ionization enthalpy can be converted to cation easily. This is first condition. Next. Second one. Small atom and big atom, which can be converted to anion easily, small atom. So, if the size of the atom is small, it can be converted to anion because it can attract the electron easily and it can be converted to anion easily. So, size of the atom. If the size of the atom is less, it has more probability to be converted as anion. Then it can form ionic bond easily. Two conditions. Next, third condition. Same. After gaining the electron, if that anion is able to form inert gas configuration, that anion can be formed easily instead of the anion which is formed by pseudo inert gas configuration. Okay, two neutral atoms we have. One neutral atom after gaining electron, it is converted to anion by gaining the inert gas configuration. Another atom, by gaining that electron, it is getting pseudo inert gas configuration. Then out of these two atoms, which can be converted to anion easily. The atom which is getting inert gas configuration after gaining electron, it will be converted to anion easily. That is the thing. So, three conditions for cation formation and three conditions for anion formation. What are the three conditions for cation? Already we have seen. Big atom, okay, less ionization enthalpy, and third one, atom which forms stable inert gas configuration. Anion, small atom which has high electron affinity, and third one, same thing, which can form stable inert gas configuration. This is about in what way we can get the ionic bond easily. Okay, ma'am? Now, if cation and anion are formed easily, automatically ionic bond can be formed easily. Here one small trick point, no? LiCl, CSCl. They will give two compounds. Which one has high ionic character? Which one has high ionic character? Okay, now lithium, small atom, cesium, bigger atom, means both are belonging to same group. Top to bottom, what happened? Size increases. Anions are same only, so we are not bothering about anions. We are bothering about cations. Li plus and Cs plus. Now let us consider lithium neutral atom and Cs neutral atom. Lithium is smaller and cesium is bigger now. Okay, now what is the question? Out of these two compounds, which is more ionic? More ionic is nothing but which can lose the electron easily? Cesium. Cesium will lose the electron easily and it will form the cation easily and it has more ionic character, more ionic nature. Out of LiCl and CaCl, which one has high ionic character? That is CaCl. Same examples I will ask in another way. That is, out of these two compounds, which one has strongest ionic bond? Which one has strongest ionic bond? LiCl has ionic bond. CaCl also contains ionic bond. Okay, but LiCl has strong ionic bond when compared to CaCl because Li plus is smaller, na? It can attract the Cl minus more effectively and electrostatic force is strong because of that ionic bond is also strong. Two different conditions, ionic character and strong ionic bond. Okay, ionic character will be shown by big size atom, high ionic character will be shown by big size atom, strong ionic bond will be formed by small atom which is converted to cation. But because they already told that those two compounds contain ionic bond, then which is strong? Small cations will form strong ionic bond when compared to big cation. But out of two, which one will be formed as ionic bond easily? Big atom only will be converted to cation easily and it can be forming the cation, that ionic bond easily. This is about main conditions about ionic bond and properties of ionic compounds. Okay, the properties of ionic compounds we will see now. Under properties, first one. All ionic compounds are solids at room temperature because these Na plus, the cations and anions are attracted very strongly. Because of that attractions, they are very closely packed with each other and they will get one rigid structure which is nothing but solid. So all the ionic compounds are solids at room temperature. Next, second one. Because of that strong attraction, they are very closely packed with each other. They have very high melting and boiling points. They will not be melted at boiled at low temperatures. They will be contained by very high melting and boiling points. Boiling point of sodium chloride, melting point of sodium chloride is 850 degrees centigrade. So to convert that solid NaCl to liquid NaCl, we need to heat up to 850 degrees centigrade. That is about second point. Next, third one, conductivity. These are good conductors of electricity in molten or fused or aqueous solution. These are good conductors of electricity in molten or fused state or aqueous solution, but bad conductors of electricity in solid state. Bad conductors of electricity in solid state. This is important point here. What is the reason? This is, even though a compound has positive charges and negative charges, if the charges are able to move from one place to another place, then only it is called good conductor of electricity. If that substance is able to allow electricity, that is nothing but that substance has charges, whether it is positive charge or negative charge, it is not the main requirement. They have to move from one place to another place freely. How much freely they can move, in that way we can say that substance is highly good conductor. Okay, but here ionic compounds in solid state. What about solid state? Na plus ions and Cl minus, if you take example, those are present very closely packed with each other. Even though positive charges and negative charges are present, they cannot move from one place to another place. Because of that, in solid state they are good bad conductors of electricity. Now coming to molten state or fused state, they will be converted to liquid. After melting, they will be converted to liquid. These Na plus and Cl minus attractions are broken down and they are free from each other. They can move from one place to another place easily. Because of that, it is a good conductor of electricity. Even aqueous solution is nothing but this NaCl is dissolved in water. Then NaCl will be converted to Na plus and Cl minus ions. According to that, they can move freely. Medium is there. Water is the medium. They can move from one place to another place. Because of that, it is a good conductor of electricity. So, ionic compounds are bad conductors in solid state, but they are good conductors in liquid, that is molten or fused or aqueous solution. This is about third point. Next, fourth point. Coming under fourth point, all ionic reactions are fast reactions. All ionic reactions are fast reactions because if you take example NaCl plus AgNO3, this NaCl is not solid mud, it is aqueous solution. If you take solid NaCl and solid AgNO3, they won't undergo reaction because they will be present like a mixture. They won't undergo reaction. If these two substances should undergo reaction, first we have to prepare aqueous solution of NaCl as well as we have to prepare aqueous solution of AgNO3. Then these two are added into one more test tube in which we will get NaNO3 plus AgCl. This AgCl is white precipitate, no? This AgCl is white precipitate. This NaNO3 is dissolved in water because already these are contained by aqueous solutions, na? Water will be present. Because of that, this NaNO3 will be dissolved in water. This white precipitate is formed immediately. Within seconds of time, while we are adding itself, the white color precipitate is formed. By seeing that, we can understand these reactions are very fast reactions. All ionic reactions are very fast reactions. Okay, next. This is about fourth point, no? Fifth point. Ionic bond is a non-directional bond. Ionic bond is a non-directional bond because if you take Na plus, this Na plus is like a spear, it is like a ball. So it will attract the Cl minus from any direction. From any direction, this Na plus can attract the Cl minus. Because of that, in a particular direction, that Na plus Cl minus bond will not be formed. So it is non-directional bond. When it is non-directional, it cannot show stereoisomerism. Stereoisomerism is the property of covalent character in which that bonds must be aligned in a particular direction. Then only stereoisomerism can be explained. The stereoisomerism already we have seen in 12th class topics, that one you know already. Okay. Now, when it is a non-directional bond, so ionic compounds cannot show stereoisomerism. Ionic compounds cannot show stereoisomerism. First, all ionic compounds are solids at room temperature. Second, they have very high melting and boiling points. Third one, they are good conductors of electricity in liquid, that is molten or fused or aqueous solution, but bad conductors in solid state. All ionic reactions are fast reactions. Fifth one, they are non-directional bonds, and those because of that they cannot show stereoisomerism. Next, sixth one, all ionic compounds are soluble in water. Because water is a polar solvent, these are all polar in nature. Polar solutes will be soluble in polar solvents. Okay, this is sixth property. All ionic compounds are soluble in water. Okay, these are the properties of ionic compounds. They are very strong, means their attractions between the ions, that is positive and negative charges, will be very strong, and those are called electrostatic forces. Ionic bond is also called electrovalent bond. Okay, after this we have one topic, that is Pagen's rules. The Pagen's rules I will discuss after covalent bond, because the Pagen's rules is about covalent character and ionic character. So after completion of covalent bond, it is better to discuss Pagen's rules. Okay, now this is about properties of ionic compounds. Next, when 1 mole of Na plus ions and 1 mole of Cl minus ions, they are far away from each other, and now because of the electrostatic forces, they are attracted with each other to be formed as 1 mole of NaCl. 1 mole of NaCl. While the formation of 1 mole of NaCl, okay, this is happened with formation of bond. When the bond is formed, energy will be released. Energy will be released. That energy is called lattice energy. The amount of energy released when 1 mole of cations, we should not actually tell the number of moles. When positive charged ions and negative charged ions are combined to form 1 mole of ionic substance. Because MgF2, if you take, that is 1 mole of MgF2 only, but 2 moles of F minus will be required to be combined with 1 mole of Mg plus 2. That's why I am not telling 1 mole of Na plus 1 mole of Cl minus for generalization. Now I am telling that the amount of energy released when constituent cations and anions are combined to form 1 mole of ionic substance is called lattice energy. If same amount of lattice energy is supplied to 1 mole of ionic substance, they will be broken down into constituent cations and anions. Okay, ma? This is called lattice energy. Okay, once again, the definition of lattice energy is the amount of energy released when constituent cations and anions are combined to form 1 mole of ionic substance is called lattice energy, or the amount of energy required to convert that 1 mole of ionic substance into its constituent cations and anions is also called lattice energy. If old bonds are broken, energy will be absorbed. If new interactions are formed, energy will be released. That one everywhere we have to remember, not only in chemical bond, everywhere. That point must be remembered for you. Okay, ma? By you. That is about this ionic bond. Okay, structure of NaCl. Let us see that one. Okay, one thing, ma. Generally in our NEET class, that structure of NaCl is not that much. That crystal lattice structure known in. You know already in solid state we have gone through that one. Just once go through, you will understand easily. Okay, this is about completion of this ionic bond fully. In what way ionic bond is explained, what are the properties of ionic bond, and what are the favorable conditions for the formation of ionic bond. Okay, now next immediately we will go through next bond, that is chemical covalent bond. No? Before that, one point, ionic bond is formed between metal and non-metal. Ionic bond is formed between metal and non-metal. But all metals, every time if you see metal and non-metal, that is not meaning of ionic bond. Okay, there is a chance of formation of covalent bond also. But if you see non-metal and non-metal, HF, H2O. If you see non-metal and non-metal, hydrogen and oxygen both are non-metals, H2O. HF, hydrogen and fluorine, both are non-metals. If you see a bond present between non-metal and non-metal, that is called covalent bond, definitely. But coming to ionic bond, where ionic bond will be exhibited, all these things, by understanding Fazon's rules, we will come to know. Till that, wait, okay. Now, what about this covalent bond? For the explanation of this, let us consider the example H2. Formation of H2 molecule, in which hydrogen electronic configuration is 1s1 and another hydrogen atom electronic configuration is also 1s1. Hydrogen, any one hydrogen is not ready to donate, because if it donates, it will lose the electron and it will lose the stability also. Because of that, no hydrogen is ready to donate. In that condition, what will be happened? Okay, we know already. Two students we have. Two students have 1 rupee each. Individually, they went into one shop to buy one chocolate, in which first boy asked what about the cost of the chocolate. The shopkeeper told it is 2 rupees. He cannot buy that one because he has only 1 rupee. Even second student is repeated with same incident because he has 1 rupee. Then after coming outside, they will think in a way that if they are shared with each other, means 1 rupee by one person and another rupee by another person. That is mutual sharing of rupees. then they will be contained with 2 rupees. That 2 rupees will be under the influence of both the students. In that way, here also hydrogen will be contained by 1 electron, and another hydrogen atom also will be contained by 1 electron, and they will mutually share that electrons to be formed as one bond. After sharing of the electrons, the 2 electrons will be under the influence of both nuclei of first hydrogen atom and second hydrogen atom. Now this hydrogen atom has 2 electrons, duplet configuration it got. This hydrogen atom also got duplet configuration, and both the hydrogen atoms are stable. This is about formation of H2. In the same way, we have formation of HCl, HF, everything. Okay, here itself we will get the concept of sigma bond, pi bond. That one once we will see that one. Okay, this is about formation of covalent bond. Now what is the definition of covalent bond? The bond which is formed by sharing of electrons by 2 atoms or more than 2 atoms is called covalent bond. Sorry for this one. The bond which is formed by sharing of electrons between 2 atoms. The sharing of electrons might be 2 electrons or more than 2 electrons is called covalent bond. Okay, the bond which is formed by mutual sharing of electrons is called covalent bond. That is the definition. All of it clear? Now we will go through what are the types present here, all these things. If you see oxygen molecule has double bond. No? How the double bond is formed? Oxygen electron configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. Outermost electrons I am representing here contains 2 unpaired electrons present in 2 orbitals. Remember, covalent bond is formed by only unpaired electrons. If shared pair of electrons are there, they will not form covalent bond. Okay, now this oxygen has how many unpaired electrons? 2 unpaired electrons present in 2 p orbitals. Same way, another oxygen also contains same configuration. Now, I am writing that first oxygen atom two orbitals, 2 p orbitals, those are perpendicular to each other, contains 1 electron. Second oxygen atom also contains like this. This first electron orbital is involved in complete overlapping to form sigma bond, and remaining 2 orbitals will be, there is no chance for them to undergo complete overlapping. Because of that, mutual they will undergo this electron spins in clockwise direction and this electron spins in anti-clockwise direction. Because of that, attraction will be developed between these 2 electrons, but not by complete overlapping, partial overlapping. That is called pi bond. That is called pi bond. So oxygen is represented as O double bond O. After the formation of double bond O, it has first oxygen has 2 lone pairs and second oxygen has 2 lone pairs. Now the definition of lone pairs and bond pairs we will see. Before that, this is the formation of double bond in oxygen, in which we have O double bond O. One bond is called sigma bond and another bond is called pi bond. Is it okay, ma? Definitely, if you have multiple bonds, 2 bonds, 3 bonds are the maximum number of bonds, ma. In that only one sigma bond is possible, remaining all are pi bonds only. If you have multiple bonds between 2 atoms, definitely it should be 1 bond, it is sigma bond, remaining are pi bonds. This is about formation of oxygen. In the same way, nitrogen has triple bond with lone pairs, in which one is sigma and remaining 2 are pi bonds. Okay, this is about formation of multiple bonds in oxygen molecule and nitrogen molecule, in which how they will undergo nitrogen. Nitrogen has 3 unpaired electrons present in 3 p orbitals. This is px, middle finger. This is also px. These thumbs, they will show py. Then these index fingers, they will show pz. Now, by using px and px, they will undergo complete overlapping. At once, if they undergo complete overlapping, remaining orbitals, there is no chance for them to undergo sigma bond means complete overlapping is not possible. Because of that, these index fingers present along z-axis. They will be involved in pi bond, one pi bond, and these two, which are present along y-axis, they are nearer to each other. They will be forming one sidewise overlapping, which is called pi bond. Then nitrogen has one sigma bond, one pi bond in plane. One pi bond will be above the plane. That is about formation of nitrogen N2 molecule. Okay. By this way, in what way covalent bond is formed, formation of single bond, double bond, everything we came to know. But actual problem will be started here. The problem is till now, what are the molecules we discussed? Those all molecules are called diatomic molecules. HF, HCl, H2, Cl2, Br2, whatever it is. If you discuss easily, that is nothing but diatomic molecule. Now O2, N2, molecule which contains two atoms is called diatomic molecule. These diatomic molecules, how they are formed as covalent bond, even formation of multiple bonds, was successfully explained by VBT, that is called valence bond theory. That was successfully explained by VBT, valence bond theory. But there is a problem with more than two atom molecules. Those are called polyatomic molecules. If you take polyatomic molecules, main problem will be coming with this valence bond theory. Okay, now let us consider one example. It is CH4. Okay, CH4 contains totally how many atoms? 5 atoms. It is not contained by 2 atoms. Correct? Now, with these 5 atoms, this CH4 must be explained by valence bond theory. Structure of CH4 must be explained by valence bond theory. Let us see. What is the central atom? Carbon. Let us write the electronic configuration of carbon directly excited state. No need to write again ground state. You are already known about that one. So, excited state electronic configuration of carbon is 1s2, 2s1, 2p3. How many electrons we have? Unpaired electrons, 4 unpaired electrons. So, carbon can form 4 bonds. No problem at all. But, what is the thing? Those 4 orbitals are not similar orbitals. Those are, one is s orbital and remaining 3 are p orbitals. Definitely s and p orbitals are varied with energy. S orbital here, this R2 we know, 2s has lower energy when compared to 2p. Okay, definitely this one has lower energy when compared to these 3. These 3 are degenerate orbitals. They have same energy. Okay, this is about electronic configuration of carbon. Now what about hydrogen atoms? Hydrogen atoms 4 we have. Electronic configuration of hydrogen is 1s1. Okay, by using that 1s1 orbital, suppose let us consider this carbon. This is s orbital of carbon. These are p orbitals of carbon. P orbitals of carbon contains 1 electron each. Like this perpendicular each other. 3 p orbitals. Now this is, how many hydrogens we have? 4 hydrogens we have. 1 hydrogen will be involved in bond here by using s orbital of hydrogen. Remaining 3 hydrogens will be involved in bonds with 3 p orbitals. See, these are 3 p orbitals. By using s orbital, hydrogen will be involved overlapping here to form sigma bond. Next here. Next here from front. If you draw that lines, those bonds are represented with lines. Those lines are perpendicular to each other. When they are perpendicular to each other, those lines are nothing but bonds. So between one bond and another bond, what is the angle we have? It should be 90. What is the angle between one bond and another bond? It is 90. According to valence bond theory, if you explain the CH4 molecule, what is the bond angle we have to understand? That is 90 degrees. But practically, by using X-ray diffraction techniques, bond angle in CH4 is not 90 degrees, it is 109 degrees 28 minutes. 109 degrees 28 minutes. This was not explained by valence bond theory. Problem came. It is polyatomic molecule. In polyatomic molecule, bond angle correctly if it is not explained, structure problem you will get. That is nothing but, according to this, if you understand the structure, three lines, three bonds must be perpendicular to each other, correct? Then we have to get like this arrangement. But practically, structure of CH4 is tetrahedral. Which one? This tetrahedral structure is not explained by valence bond theory. Not only for this molecule. If you take any polyatomic molecule, this theory was failed to explain correctly the structure as well as bond angles. If you are not able to explain the structure or bond angles, even though it is experimentally explained, suppose experimentally CH4 is explained as tetrahedral shape and bond angle 109 degrees 28 minutes. That is not proved theoretically. Then that one is not that much fulfilled. Then what we are going to do, we have to explain what about this characteristic of the structure of the CH4, why it is showing 109 degrees 28 minutes. Okay, this is main drawback of valence bond theory, which was resolved by hybridization concept. Now we have to go through next concept to explain the structures of polyatomic molecules as well as other things. What are the things we are going to explain depending on that hybridization, we will see now. Is it okay, ma? Till now, did you understand everything? First, we have seen the covalent bond formation in diatomic molecules. Single bond formation, double bond formation, everything. Those bonds formation were successfully explained by this valence bond theory nicely. Okay, but the problem is persisted here when we take polyatomic molecule. In polyatomic molecule, mainly with CH4 structure must be tetrahedral, but by using this valence bond theory, if you explain, that must be perpendicular to each other. The bonds must be perpendicular to each other, which is not correlated. Practical result and explanation was not correlated. And next one, as well as bond angle must be 90 degrees, but practically we are getting 109. We have to believe practical result, 109 degrees 28 minutes. So in what way we can explain the bond angle in CH4 by 109 degrees, that one we have to see. Which theory is going to explain? That theory was given by hybridization. That hybridization concept will explain the structures clearly. That one we will see now. Now, again I am writing the excited state electronic configuration of carbon. That is 1s2, 2s1, 2p3. One s2, 2s1, 2p3. Now, this theory explained in a way that while this carbon is going to involve in bond with hydrogens, it will not use directly the atomic orbitals. Carbon atom, while it is going to be involved in chemical bond with hydrogens, it will not use directly the atomic orbitals. Then what will be happened? These atomic orbitals will be intermixed. These atomic orbitals will be intermixed. Now what is happening? One s orbital and 3 p orbitals are getting intermixed. One s orbital and 3 p orbitals are getting intermixed. That is called sp3 hybridization. First we will see what is meant by hybridization, definition. After that, different types of hybridization we have. Okay, before that one, the process of intermixing of orbitals of almost same energy, to be regenerated into a new set of orbitals with same size, shape and energy is called, that process is called hybridization, and the orbitals which are formed after hybridization are called hybrid orbitals. The process of intermixing of atomic orbitals of almost same energy, okay, regenerated into a new set of orbitals with same number, size, energy and shape is called hybridization, and the orbitals which are formed after hybridization are called hybrid orbitals. If it undergoes sp3 hybridization, those hybrid orbitals are called sp3 hybridized orbitals. Okay, now this one is better, easily we can understand by taking one general example. That one I will explain. Before that, this is the process which is happening, and those hybrid orbitals will be involved in bonds. By that we can explain the structure easily. Okay, now one for example. In our home we have 4 apples which are almost of same sizes, but they are not equal in size. Even shapes are also not same. Then at that time, correctly 4 guests came to our home. Those 4 guests must be treated in an equal way because all are equally important to us. Then what we will do? If you take that apples, only we have apples now. For example, I am telling, okay, in our home, that in the trees we have apples. If you give that apples directly, one apple to one person, as they are coming as guests, we are going to host them in a way that one apple is given to one person. Is it correct way to treat equally? No. Definitely they will see what about the colors like that. Even though they are not going to express, they will come to know definitely they are treated in a different way. But our intention is we have to treat them equally. Then what is the other thing we have to see? That is, these 4 apples we are going to keep it in mixie and we are making it as a juice, and after getting the juice, everything pulp, that remaining material waste will be removed, and we are going to get liquid. That liquid will be poured into 4 glasses which have same shape, and we are making that into same level. 4 apples are there previously. Even now we are making into 4 glasses. But what is happening? Pulp present in 4 different apples, now they are getting intermixed. Pulp present in 4 different apples are getting intermixed. Regenerated into 4 glasses with equal quantity, level, everything, even color is also same. Now if you serve that 4 glasses to them, they cannot find which apple is gotten by which person. Now they are equally treated. That is what is happening here. 4 apples of almost same shapes and sizes, but they are not equal. They are getting intermixed into a mixie and they are regenerated into a new set of 4 juice glasses in which all are same number, shape, size, everything. Then the process is called hybridization. The process is called hybridization. Okay, ma'am? Same here. 4 different orbitals. Actually, these 3 are same and this is 1. What will be happen? This s orbital and p orbitals are getting intermixed. Energy is getting intermixed and regenerated into 4 equal orbitals. The 4 equal orbitals shape is orbital hybridized orbital shape is this one. One lobe, and this is small spherical shape. Like this, how many orbitals will be formed? How many orbitals are undergoing hybridization? That many orbitals will be formed after hybridization. How many orbitals are involved in hybridization? 4. So we will get 4 orbitals after hybridization. Those are called 4 sp3 hybrid orbitals. Those 4 sp3 hybridized orbitals will be aligned in a shape called this is the shape which is called tetrahedron. In birthday parties, if you observe, we will see if 4 balloons are knotted at one center, automatically they will be attending to this shape, because in this shape they will be undergoing less repulsions between one orbital and another orbital. Because of that, automatically these 4 orbitals are coming into which shape? Tetrahedral shape. And what is the angle between two orbitals. Actually, it is not bond angle between orbitals. After the involvement in bond, we will discuss that bond angle. Okay. Now, this is explanation. What is the definition? The process of intermixing of almost similar orbitals, okay, to be regenerated into same number, shape, size and energy orbitals is called hybridization. The orbitals which are formed after hybridization are called hybridized orbitals. We have various types of hybridizations, sp3, sp2, sp, like the various types we have. In next class we will see what about that hybridization and what about the next theories. Okay, ma. Now in this class, what is the thing we have concluded? This is the thing for hybridization. This theory explained structures of polyatomic molecules successfully. Structures of polyatomic molecules were not explained by valence bond theory, but this theory successfully explained the structures, and this is the thing which we got for practically by using X-ray diffraction techniques. What is the structure of CH4 tetrahedral? Even here we are getting 4 same hybridized orbitals. Those 4 hybrid orbitals will be attain the structure tetrahedral, because to reduce the repulsions, automatically those 4 orbitals will be attaining the shape. Okay. Now each orbital has one electron. They are involved in bond with hydrogen. Now these are bonds. Between bonds, what is the bond angle? 109 degrees 28 minutes, which is according to our X-ray diffraction techniques. Previously I wrote 109 degrees 28 minutes. Exactly, it is coincided with this explanation. In this way, successfully bond angles and these structures of polyatomic molecules were explained by this hybridization. Okay, this is the initial concept topic about this hybridization. Next we will go through what are the models, various models present, as well as by using VSEPR theory, in what way we are considering the clone base, everything. Already these are completed for you. I will go through all those things, and models also I will write on the board, and according to that how we can explain the structures clearly for every polyatomic molecule. That one in next class we will see. Okay, ma? And this is about today's class. We have seen that first how covalent bond, chemical bond is formed, types of chemical bond, ionic bond, covalent bond, coordinate covalent bond. First we have seen ionic bond formation, definition, its properties, okay, and what are the favorable conditions for the formation of ionic bond, that is formation of cation and anion, and lattice energy. Every concept related to ionic bond we have seen. After completion of ionic bond, we have started with chemical bond. Chemical bond was successfully explained by valence bond theory for diatomic molecules, but because of some drawbacks present in the valence bond theory, next theory tried to explain, that is called hybridization. Now we entered into that hybridization. Initially we have gone through that sp3, but in next class every hybridization clearly I will show that one. Okay, this is about today's class. Thank you all. We have to concentrate on this chapter highly. Once again I am pressurizing you, means I am insisting you to follow this chapter clearly. Okay, ma? Thank you all.